Hello and welcome to the first Primo Calcio cast here. We're going to be discussing Serie A, all the happenings, and what's been going on. Hello, my name is Michael.
And I'm Anthony. This is our cherry poppin' cast.
Mm,
Yeah,
all
this is it.
right, let's just start with a bang. Let's get into it. Where do you want to begin?
Let's just do the current state of Serie A right now. I think it's been a pretty exciting spot with all these teams. What is it? 4 points away off of Napoli. We got so first through fifth is a point away. Juventus is 2 points off Napoli, and then Milan with a game in hand is 8 points away.
Right.
But
So
yeah, first through
if they win
fifth.
it, they'd be 21, which would put them, roughly 2 games off of first.
Yeah, first through fifth are one
Crazy.
1 point away, and first through six is 1 point away. So I don't know if it's it because everyone's doing really well, or no one wants to win, or if the big teams are just sucking, and there's some teams that are really hot right now. So maybe a little bit of that last one I think is probably the right.
I think it's just because there's no runaway team, in my opinion, this year. I guess people still say Inter is like the on paper best team, but I think that a lot of that, not motivation, but they have a really well built team. It was the right time, the right place, and that's why last year they did so well and were able to secure it. But I feel like they really want to go for Champions League right now, so the motivations in Serie A, in my opinion, aren't going to be as high as they were last year, since they just won their 20th Scudetto last year, which was massive, and then won it at the San Siro against Milan. So pretty big change. Now this year, Conte's at Napoli. Some teams they said were catching fire. I've always thought this was going to be a very competitive season, and I think it's going to be that way until the end. I wonder if one team's going to pull ahead. Do you think somebody's going to pull ahead in like the last 10 weeks, or do you think it's
No,
going to be like this until the
I
end?
I don't think that. So I'm a huge Conte fan. I love Conte, but I don't think that team is good enough to pull ahead. I think he's going to scrap his way if he wins a Scudetto. I think he's going to scrap his way to a first or second place this year. I think the only team that has the ability to really step on the gas is Inter. I think the other teams are hot right now and they're in the mix, but I don't think anybody's going to run away with it.
Yeah,
I
I think I'm
don't.
actually just going to mirror your sentiments there. I think the only team that could do it would be Inter. As I said, I do think they've fallen off a little bit from last year,
Mhm.
but they're the only team that has the potential to run away with it.
Yeah. I think they're
Napoli is
still the best
not
team
good
up there.
enough.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
And some people are saying, "Oh, it's the same team that won the Scudetto a couple of years ago." No, no, it's not. I mean, they lost Kim, they lost Osimhen. Their players are older. Who else did they lose? They lost Zelensky. It's
right.
it's it's not the same
And
team.
Loboka's injured right now, or at least he's out, right?
Yeah, he was out for a bit. Yeah, I mean
But
it's
either way,
yeah, it's a
that's
team that
one
finished
person
tenth
in
place.
each position, right? That's one of your main center back, main striker,
Mhm.
and one of your two best midfielders. So
Yeah, and I mean honestly, the influence of a winger is not nearly as impactful as a great center back or a great striker. I mean, it's just not. So
100%.
Kvarat's great, but yeah, they got a long way to go if they're gonna win this. I think Conte knows that. That's why he's been kind of nerfing expectations when people are freaking out. And I think he's the best coach in Serie A, but I don't think that he has the team just yet. But there've been some interesting links, and I'm sure we'll do a transfer cast here coming up. But um, I kind of want to start with talking a little bit about the job Palladino's doing with Fiorentina, and the reason we're Primo Calcio is Calcio first. So you know,
That's a great way to start it. For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, good. Go into it now. I'll kind of spark from there.
Yeah, Michael's he's a Milan guy. I'm a Juventus guy, and one of the reasons we loved our clubs is because they were Italians first, with a couple of world-class foreign players. And it's been a long time since we've seen that out of any teams. And I feel like it's just a lot of Italians being so harsh on their own players, not giving them a chance. They have a bad game, they're benched for life, whereas they'll give these foreign players you know rope enough to hang themselves, and they let them kind of go. They give them a super long leash, I should say, and now you have just these teams just flooded with a bunch of mercenaries. And yeah, it's really refreshing to see a coach like Palladino step into a Fiorentina team that's been primarily foreign based, that had a really good season last year, inject it with a ton of young Italian talent, preach about how we have to give Italian talent a chance, and he's doing an excellent job. Absolutely excellent job. Resurrected Keane completely. He's got Cataldi out there. He's got Bove that Roma didn't want for some reason. He's got Kolpani out there. He's got Sotil's playing better than I've ever seen him play. He still doesn't get himself on the score sheet, but the guy's a pain in the ass the whole game. He's got Ranieri looking like he's an actual center back, and Camuzzo coming out of nowhere having an excellent season. I mean, the guy's doing a great job. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. He's doing a great job just across the board with his Italian talent. This is what I want to see as a fan of Calcio. I don't want to see us become England 2.0.
No, it's a really important point to kind of talk about that we're both actually really pulling for Fiorentina to do as well as possible. So I think I started watching Milan. I mean, it was really that like 05, 06. I actually started watching probably by like 05, but a little bit in 04. I wasn't really too heavy into the whole game of calcio, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. And then really got into it in about 05. And the very next season, when I was kind of heavily into it, Milan ended up winning the Champions League. That's when they had, I think they started off the Champions League final with 7 Italians and four foreign players, and those players I believe were Jankulovski, Seedorf, Kaká, and
Cafu
I believe Dida,
was
right?
Cafu on that squad.
I don't think Cafu was on that squad, but like I mean, but they had him too in the past. Either way, like Milan's roster was remarkable, and my favorite player of all time is Kaká, followed by Maldini, and then you go to Pirlo Gattuso.
Yeah.
That's the team that we used to have, and then now like there's no more Italian core, and once that left, for me it doesn't. The passion is not there for me. Um, I've always wanted to see both. I love the balance. For me, Juve's always been like incredibly pro Italian, which is great. Inter's like used to be anti-Italian, and Milan was that balance, mainly Italian with some world class foreigners. That's what I fell in love with. Now, I think we just played the last game with 0 Italians on the pitch.
Oh
I think
yeah.
maybe somebody came on, but I think this last one was like 0 actually,
I
and it's just
mean,
like I don't bond with. I like some of the players on the team for sure. Don't get me wrong. There's about 4 or 5 that I think are great pieces to keep, but you need a core of Italians. So when Fiorentina is doing what they're doing, I love it and I'm all for it, and that's exactly why I put Calcio above the team that
Calcio
I have
first.
fell in love with and have been backing, because I can't fully put my backing behind Milan this year because I don't support the owners and what they're doing at Milan. So right now I'm just kind of waiting in the wings, and hopefully they turn around so I can kind of put my support behind them again fully. But right now, yeah, I'm loving Fiorentina. I think Atalanta looks great, and I always like Antonio Conte, so Napoli I'm also pulling for too.
Yeah, I mean, my allegiance isn't to flags or jersey colors. It's the culture of the team, and the culture of Juventus was always Italy first. It was a very Italian team, and love
Culture,
them.
philosophy.
Yeah, I love teams with green tie. I love teams that represent. They're very nationalistic. That represent the our country well. That have a certain amount of character and they play the game a certain way. All that's gone, and it's really nice to see Palladino kind of bucking the trend entirely and saying, no, we're going to do this with Italians. That's cool. I believe in our Italian talent, and he's doing it with Italians that have potential. Dude, throwing Camuzzo out there with Ranieri and as your two center backs. I mean, if any other team looks at that center backing core, they're going, "Ah, this is crap." Crap. They got like the after a shaky start. I'll admit, they what are they right now? The third best defense in Calcio. Yeah, third best defense in Calcio behind Juve, and Napoli. Okay, so behind those two teams, the third best defense in Calcio with Ranieri and Camuzzo. And it's not like they have defensive-minded side backs. They got Dodo and Gosens they've been playing
Mm,
a lot of, or
Yeah, but he also got to play
Biraghi. Yeah,
Biraghi. Yeah,
Biraghi.
and
Yeah,
Parisi gets some minutes, but he's definitely an attacker.
yeah. It.
He's definitely an attacking side back. Yeah.
So, go figure.
No,
These.
Palladino's a good coach.
Yeah,
He did great work at
he
Monza.
did. Same philosophy there too.
Galliani, I remember Galliani compared him to Arrigo Sacchi, who was the great Milan coach, who has been renowned and stuff. But he said they think they found somebody who's going to do great things, and so there you go. Palladino was successful at Monza,
Yeah,
so far successful for Fiorentina. I'm hoping he can keep that going for the
me
rest of the
too.
season.
Me too.
And I like watching them play.
Yeah, me too. It's actually a bummer that Goodmanson went down because him and Keane were, man, that's a powerful striking. I mean, the work ethic between those two guys is incredible. So I hope he
Big
comes
bummer.
back. I
Great
don't know how
player.
long he's out for, but I hope he comes back soon because yeah, he's a fantastic player. I really like his game. But
Yeah.
Yeah, then you got Atalanta. Let's dip into the
Well,
Gasparini
here
phenomenon.
before we go into Atalanta, the main reasons that I think for Fiorentina's like turning form, of course, is Palladino, but he's gotten a lot out of, as you said, Keane.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, Keane is a good player now because he always had skill, he had pace, he had strength.
He was always a
He
pain
just
in
could
the ass.
never, yeah, he could never finish,
Yeah.
right? And yes, he had good work ethic, but never enough to keep it going the whole game. He'd fade. He's not fading. He's burying. He still hasn't been good for the national team yet, but I think hopefully with enough time, if Palladino gets into his head more and more, he'll be better.
Well, I think if
On
he
top of
starts some
that,
games too, I think he's playing the
yeah,
last 20 minutes of games. It's like, hey, come and he puts himself in good spots, like against and we'll get into this a little deeper in our national team podcast. But what was it, the Belgium game? I mean, he gets
yeah,
himself almost
Belgium.
single-handedly open on long balls. He just makes the opportunity himself, and then he just like
Oh, he's in the right
was afraid
spot.
to
He just
shoot.
like wouldn't shoot, which is like
Yeah,
totally rare for him. Usually he's
yeah,
just blasting from wherever he can.
yeah,
But
yeah. He just overthinking
also
the
the
situation.
pickup of Goodmanson I think was a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that pickup.
Hmm.
Kamutso kind of coming in into his own and kind of being like a more surprise
He looks really
performer
good.
this year. Those are the big ones that I'm seeing have been really
Yeah,
stepping up for Fiorentina right now.
big time.
And actually, it's nice to see Colpani finally get a goal and get out of the script because I've always
Yeah,
thought he was great at Monza.
he
I didn't
was.
know how he'd respond to a little better team. He's starting to come into his own, so this is good.
Well, Palladino started out with him. He started out with his 3-4-3, and he started out with Kopani as a natural position. But then they were struggling, so he quickly moved him back to a four-man back line like they were used to last year. And is
Hmm.
running like a 4-4-2 now, or the magical 4-2-3-1 that every single team runs. And Kopani is doing really well as like that right midfielder role. So I mean, it took him a while to get on the scoreboard, but he's always tricky. He's good with the ball. He's technical. He's a good little player, and we'll see
He's a good
how
player.
he's a good player. I think he's just fine, and he's just going to get a little bit better over time. So I really like what Fiorentina's doing. They're probably my favorite team to watch right now.
I would agree. They're actually the team that I'm pulling for the most. So
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, Atalanta, Gasparini. Let's see. Has he finally discovered his cure for his lack of success, or has the game kind of changed in his favor?
You mean like why has he been better?
Yeah, he hasn't won jack shit until last year. He finally won his first trophy last year, and it's a big one, for a club of that size. He's got a great mix of players there. He's doing great stuff. Once again, every single player that goes there plays their best football, and then whenever they leave, they suck again. He's got some formula that he's discovered finally, or I think a little bit of this, and maybe a little bit more than a little bit, is that the game has finally reached a point where there's no good defense anymore, and
I would
so
totally agree because
yeah,
he's always been the same. He hasn't
yeah,
changed. He's high press. He's all action all the time. Lots of scoring. Lots of being scored on, and that's just him. That's how
yeah,
his teams play. I mean, yeah, where are they at right now? They have what 15 goals let in, which
yeah.
it's like a mid-pack defense right now if you look
Yep.
at that, right?
Mhm.
But that's always how they are. I think you're right. Defenses are not good these days. People can say what they want, but they're just straight up not. If you ever watched, 10, 20 years ago, they're absolutely nowhere
Oh,
close to
they're
where they were.
garbage now. Yeah, every
So
single defender I
everybody's a
hear,
winger.
like
Yeah.
their analysis of oh man, he's great with the ball at his feet. He's great at moving the ball forward. It's like, well, can he actually defend? Does he know how to make a tackle? I haven't seen like a proper tackle. I think the first good tackle I saw was in that Napoli Inter game. Bongiorno put on a freaking show. That was the first time I've seen an actual proper defender in a long time. I was like, oh, I was stunned. You know,
Yeah, defense is kind of dead. But
it's dead.
as you said, it does play into Gasparini's play
It
style.
does. Yeah.
But he also has had a lot of consistency with his team.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the players, and when they do move on, it's like one big one here and there. As you said, they never do well away from it.
They never do. No.
But most of his team is kind of there. Same philosophy. He does tend to kind of rebirth a lot of players too.
He
So I
does.
think players feel very comfortable there, whereas they don't get the confidence elsewhere. So he must be pretty good at just like motivating certain players too.
They haven't,
You've
yeah.
seen it
Well,
over and
he
over again with
definitely
them.
is. Well, I think he's got, he's so set in his system that he's been doing forever that people come in, and I think players know exactly what they have to do. They know exactly what's asked of them. Like, okay, uh, they're high pressing. There's a lot of action. The ball's moving around fast. There's a lot of places they can go to get the ball. There's a lot of easy outlets they have, so they're never like stuck in a place where they have to do too much. It's simple. It's fast. It's probably fun for these guys. So I think that's why they do really well there. I mean, look at Rick Retegui, leading the league in goals. I mean, he was pretty good last season too, but the season before that, Skamaka, he was like I thought that guy was just a loser, and now he had a great season last year. He kind of proved me right at the Euros, but it's okay. He was looking great last year, and Lookman's been incredible. De Keteler's been having a hell of a season this season. I think he's one of the better players I've seen all year. I think his Ederson's fantastic. Darun's always been good. Um,
No,
yeah,
they have a good squad overall, but
they do.
yeah, being able to get a lot out of certain players like this season, as you're saying, Retegui looks great. Um, I mean, he's leading the league in scoring, and you'd think, okay, he's the best striker in Serie A, and he kind of is up there with them, which I don't actually think he's that good of a player. I think he's good. I think he's smart. He's not bad at anything. I love the way he plays, but I don't think he's like some standout striker. But I think when you put a guy who's got all those qualities under Gasparini, you get what you're getting right now.
Yeah,
I
he's
think, I think it just works. He's great at working and playing off of players.
mhm.
And Atalanta's always going to have people to play with up front. They're
he's
never going to leave you isolated. They're never going to leave you alone. There's always people to play off of.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, there's a lot of work being done for him, so he can just get into spots to score goals, and in the meantime, he can come back and help him a little bit because there's someone to pass to. I think he's doing great. I mean, he puts in goals. He's the only striker we've had in the national team that actually scores goals. So he's he's not ideal, but I mean, I
No, but
can't
he's
fault
good
him.
enough.
Yeah, yeah.
He's been
I'll
good.
take it. I mean, I'll take it. And then
I think Lookman is also a massive
Lookman's,
success for them.
yeah, he's been awesome, man. He comes up in big games too, dude. That's the thing about Lookman. He
He
comes
does,
up
and
in
he
big
won't get like
games.
a one goal. He like two or three goals
Yeah,
in a big game, which is quite a rare characteristic there.
yeah. He's a stud, man. He's a beast. I wonder how he'll do on another team. I hope he stays in Atalanta just because I love having a good, strong Atalanta. But yeah, I think I mean if any player is benefiting from Gasparini, it's Lookman, and I think to the point where if he goes anywhere, he'll be great. And Ederson too. I think that's just an excellent player, man. Ederson
I
is
think
a
Ederson would be
monster.
good anywhere because his game would translate anywhere you go.
Yeah,
He's just good, right? He's quick. He works all day long. He's never gonna have a bad game because he always works his ass
right.
off. And I think players like that, you'll never see him have a bad game. And so it's
I
nice
agree.
to see that from him.
Yeah, even when they have a bad game,
CDK
they put the work in.
for sure. CDK is a guy who I think really is benefiting from Gasparini's system
Oh
because
yeah,
he's a guy who is very low on confidence. I speak on it because, of course, being a Milan fan, I watched all the games when he was at Milan, and yes, he was given his chances, but not really. He wasn't ever given a bunch of consistent starts. He wasn't really ever given any faith placed in him. It was always like a maybe thing.
right.
He's super low on confidence. You go over to Atalanta immediately. Year one, he looks great. Year two, he looks even better. And he's actually played in his natural position.
Yes.
He was being used as like a cam slash midfield. It's like it's not really where he needs to play. He's more of a true second striker or like a false nine. And Gasperini's playing him in the role he needs to be in.
Yeah, he's doing a terrific job. They deserve to be in second place. That they absolutely spanked Napoli. That was it was a bit of a shock. It wasn't a total shock, but I mean, dude, they're red hot right now, and I think that
Yeah,
it's a bummer that they had to have this international break because the wheels were turning, man. But let's want to dig into Lazio here. This is kind of like an anomaly for me.
yeah. That seems like the next natural progression. Yeah,
Yeah,
start with coach
Baroni.
first. Since
I
that's
mean,
kind of one of the more unique things.
no clue he was going to pan out as a good coach. He's got Lazio firing on all cylinders.
So where was
Uh,
he before this?
he was at
'Cause
Hellas
I
Verona
don't know
last
a
year.
lot about him.
He's been so he got a couple teams promoted from Serie A. He failed a couple times down there. He's bounced around a lot. I'm not like a Baroni historian by any means, but I was checking out his stats before I got on. I'm just like where he's been. He's been to a lot of you know B and C teams, and Hellas Verona last year they finished 13th place. Now they weren't. I guess that's good for Hellas Verona, and they were a tough team to play against. But I mean, that's not someone I'd be like, oh yeah, if I'm the
Dang, he's coached
Lazio,
for zero big teams:
right?
Hellas, Lecce,
Gutsy
Regina
signing,
Cremonese, Frosinone, Benevento, Novara, Pescara. Wow.
gutsy signing, man. And
And he's 61 years old. It's not like he's some new guy in the field who's like got brand new ideas. He's been coaching since 2000. He's been in the game 24 years.
he's been
Wow.
around. He's doing it, and it's I'm glad that I'm glad he's got Lazio where he's got him because I like the Italians that they have on that team. like the discarded, forgotten Romagnoli. Provedel, who's one of the best Italian keepers and still can't get called up for the national team because they got glass hands Moret and pooper scooper Vicario up there. Um, but Provedel can't get a call up, recently. That'll be another cast, but
They really do have like the discarded people though,
yeah,
because I mean they got Ravella, who Juve,
yeah,
why they
discarded
got rid
from
of him is ridiculous to
no
me.
clue. All right, you start
I
on
would have
that.
taking him at Milan or like anywhere because I think
Yeah,
he's
he's
fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Romagnoli, Milan wouldn't pay him an extra 500K in salary, so
Yeah,
it's like
that's.
okay, so
Are,
ridiculous.
are,
And then
aren't you glad with your current defense that you got rid of
oh, dude,
Romagnoli?
it's so
Yeah,
stupid. It's so
Romagnoli's just
stupid.
so
Just keep the
shitty.
guy.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
and Zaccagni, another one that
Yeah.
I can speak on because so that was the season where Milan bought but Junior Messias for the right wing, and Zaccagni waited the entire transfer season for Milan because he knew there was interest. He waited it out, wouldn't accept any deals. He was going for 10 mil, and then in the end, Milan, as they tend to do these days, they went for it and they went with Junior Messias because
Oh
he was
man.
2.5 million on loan or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, but he was still 10 million over 2 years rather than over one. And then Zaccagni, because he was looked over, then he went to Lazio, I believe, on deadline day or like one day prior. So
Yeah,
there you go.
well, both our teams do Common Core math. That's how we arrive at these horrible decisions and these bloated teams of average players that with absolutely no passion for the club they're playing for. It's awesome. I love it. But no, I
No,
like seeing
it
that.
is
I
weird
like
though.
seeing
It's unique
Zaccagni
seeing
do
that.
well. Yeah,
Zaccagni's great.
yeah. Zaccagni's doing great. That who's Isaacson on the right hand side?
Yeah,
He's coming along, man. And
he's a talented guy. I like that
he
they've
is.
given him some time and consistency because other teams may have just sat him because he was started off pretty rough,
Hmm.
but he's coming into his own.
Oh yeah, and Castellanos is I one of those players we were saying like even when he has a bad game, he's at least working hard.
Guy's got a lot of presence.
Yeah, ton. That's the
You
good word,
always notice him.
presence.
You
He's
know,
doing stuff. He's out there. He's active. He's fighting,
yeah,
and that's a
he
good
may not
sign.
have the best quality, but you know when he's on,
Yep.
and he's always fighting hard. Will Idea as well. I believe he was having a great season a couple of years ago. I believe for Torino maybe.
Hmm.
Um, but then kind of was off, and now he's coming back into the fold now as well. So things are just going well at Lazio. Things are looking really.
Yeah, and how about the 38-year-old rat they got there, Pedro? That guy's killing it, man. He's
Pedro's awesome,
he's
man.
awesome.
Pedro is
Class, dude.
awesome. He's just a
Class
winner.
player. He is.
Yeah, exactly. He reminds me of like obviously they're very different players, but he reminds me of like a Miroslav Klose type of guy who's just good no matter what.
Yeah.
He's got longevity, class. I
Clutch
think
goals.
Klose played for not for Lazio as
Lots of,
well.
yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. And he
Yeah, yeah,
scored
clutch
clutch
goals. He's
goals.
just a winner.
Class. Yeah, dude. It's. I like seeing
Mentality,
teams like
man.
this. Yeah, yeah, exactly, dude. And one of my favorite part about Lazio is seeing Rovella finally getting. They got rid of Cataldi this year to Fiorentina. I think he's just on a loan, but they put their eggs in the Rovella basket. And he's doing fantastic. He's doing he's a better player than Cataldi. He's got the most tackles in Serie A. He's doing a great job as a regista. He's always
Yep.
available. He's allowing them to possess the ball. And Guendouzi, that guy's a pain in the ass. That guy is a. I really like Guendouzi.
Yeah, he's not talented. He doesn't have many skills, but he's always
he's
there.
a pain in the ass, and that's great. And so they're working, they're shaking what their mama gave them, and they're doing a great job. I hope it keeps up. And then Nuno Tavares, or that guy's having a
Yeah,
fucking awesome season.
that was a great finding.
Oh my
Great
God,
finding.
yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
anyone saw that one coming. That guy,
No, they're doing great. I love what I see.
yeah, and my boy Lazzari is down again with an injury, so
Yeah, I think he's kind of toast. I
I
mean,
think he's
he'll
toast.
help out here and there. He might have a good game here and
I
there,
was
but
watching the game when he went down. He was just so pissed in the stands. He knew it happened again. It's like, dude, just you're done. Just take your check and I don't know, start getting a coaching or something. It's a shame because I really like him as a player.
yeah, he's a good player, very good wing back especially. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's all right. They've got a good little squad right now. Now that team, the wheels may fall off.
yeah. I think it. Yeah, and that's just because I don't know. Baroni's such an unknown. I don't know if he
I
can hold it
mean,
all together.
he's an unknown, but he's also like unknown. I don't know him very well, but he's been
Yeah,
in the field for 24 years. So like you have to have people who are in doing this day in day out. They have to at least know what they see from him.
they do.
So he is like a known quantity. But I mean, sometimes you just catch lightning in a bottle, the right situation, the right people, the right manager,
Well,
and it all just gels.
I think the scariest thing for Lazio is that they're slightly overachieving right now, but the teams behind them are either not catching their groove just yet, potentially reinvigorated, or just perennially better than them. Juve and Milan are behind them in the table right now. Milan's got a game in hand. Bologna, who is a Champions League team this year and in the hands of Italiano, good coach but overrated in my opinion. But they're starting to click. They're starting to get better, so they're
Yeah.
nipping at their heels. And I think that the Roma situation
Jeez. All right,
just
that's
got markedly
Roma's gonna
better.
gonna need its own entire cast. I think we'll
Yeah,
do something
right.
fun and do a total rebuild of Roma. That'd be fun.
Well, let's
But
let, let's
man,
just do
they
Roma
gotta
real
have
quick. Do you think Ranieri is going to steady the ship?
I mean, steady. The ship right now is in 12th place, so
Yeah,
like
but
steady.
they're
I mean,
only 5 points away from seventh
I think
place.
Ranieri is gonna battle for Europa League. I don't think he's gonna get them into Champions League, which is where they want to be, which is where they were trying to
Oh yeah,
fight
they
for.
won't get
But
the
I think
Champions League.
he will battle for it, and it's hard to say whether they'll finish sixth, seventh, or eighth. I don't know.
Yeah, like there's a lot of folks saying they're only 4 points away from relegation. It's like, yeah, well, that is the glass half empty, but the glass half full is they're only 5 points out of seventh, which is a respectable finishing position considering where they're at right now.
It is and
So
it isn't because you got to get to what I mean, as far as the list here goes, you got to get to out
it's
of
two
top six to
games.
make it into Europa League.
It's two. You got to get to sixth. Yeah, it's 2 games.
Yeah, so that I mean, six is 24
Yeah,
points. Roma's at 13. That's 11 points. Or that's 4 games.
yeah,
That's rough. To
yeah.
get into actually like Europa League, I don't think he's
I
gonna
don't
get
think
him
they're getting
there.
to Europa League, but they're there, and they're going to be a team that if Ranieri can just get him in the right spots,
Yeah,
and they
and
have
they
there's
have
a
a good
ton of
squad.
talent. Dude, they got Hermoso, Hummels they picked up this year. Those are great players, man. Hummels was
Yeah, they
just the
didn't all
Champions
of a
League
sudden become
finalist.
bad
Yeah,
in like 6 months.
yeah.
So
In 6 months, Hummels goes from excellent defender on Europa League, what was Champions League final team, right? And now he's
yep.
crap and unstartable. Come on, this is just poor coaching. And honestly, I like De Rossi. I don't think he was ever like the sharpest tech player out in the world. I never thought he'd be a good
No,
tactician.
he's always
He,
a bit of a hothead
yeah,
and
he never should
not
have
a
been
very smart
brought
guy.
in. And the problem is when you bring in a guy that is brought in to appease the fans, and he's not doing a good job, which he was not, and then you fire him, you piss everybody off. The big problem they had wasn't firing De Rossi. It was not replacing him at the end of the season when they should have, and he was just a stopgap solution, pretending like he was going to be the solution going forward. Which
Yeah,
I
because
don't think.
he caught fire. But I mean, that happens with a lot of new
Yeah, but
coaches.
then
I
he
mean,
fell off
you
too.
get that initial
Yeah,
effect. Yeah, yeah,
but then
and
they
then he
brought in
fell off. And
And Juric doesn't fit that team at all. That was a terrible signing.
so
That's
I think their mistake was getting rid of Marino too soon.
yeah. Well, they should
It's
have
just
just
like
kept
there's
Mourinho, dude.
no point. At least keep him for another season. See what happens. Give him some real time. And if it's not going right, well then pick your actual coach.
Yeah,
Derossi, I like Derossi, but not as a coach.
they should have
But
kept
you're right. They
Mourinho,
just
dude.
did the worst of both worlds. They
Yeah,
brought Derossi in midway, then because he was doing well, but still fell off. They re-signed him way prematurely, in my opinion, and
yep,
now they were stuck with it and fired him. It seems like a bit of a mess, and that's all management.
yep.
And that just screams sloppy management, and that stuff trickles down. You
Oh,
can just see it.
it's the Americans, the Friedkins or whatever on that team. Is that who it
I
is?
believe it
They
is
don't know what the
Friedkin.
hell they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, they don't know what the hell they're doing, dude. They're just plugging things in, unplugging it, plugging it back in. They have no clue what the fuck they're
Yeah,
doing.
Friedkin group.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah. They need to get like an actual guy in there to run the show, and they just need to go away. Here's your budget for the year. Uh, you know,
Just be the money,
yeah,
and let the people who know it run it.
yeah, like what they did with Beppe and Inter. Like, yeah, we don't know what the hell we're doing, Beppe. You do everything
Exactly.
great. Help. We're in debt. Oh well, we won some shit. That's cool. That's what we wanted to do anyways. We just want to go here, smoke cigars, and brag about our awesome team. You know, those are the kind of owners you want. You don't want owners that micromanage you and just
Totally agree.
screw the whole club up.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Which is
So
actually why I'm hoping. Actually, no, we'll talk about that when we get to Milan.
yeah, yeah.
But where do you want to go
Bologna.
next?
Let's dip really quick into
Bologna.
Bologna. Bologna
All right,
is
we'll do
is
quick
coming
one on
around.
Bologna.
They're coming around.
I don't
I
think they're gonna do anything this season. I think
I
they're not. I think they're not gonna be any factor at all.
I don't have faith in Italiano. I don't think he's
I
that
don't
good of a
either.
coach. I don't know why he's so highly rated. Um,
He was
I,
doing good things with Fiorentina. Not great, but good.
he was, but they had a team that the team he had should have finished where it did. He didn't overachieve with them by any means, and he choked in that final against a poor team. Like
I
the,
think he choked in many finals, right? I mean, I
yeah.
could be wrong, but I think he made it to a few like
Mhm.
conference league finals, and I don't think he won any of them, right?
No, yeah, he's just a choker. I don't. It's hard to replace. Like, in all fairness to him, though, they sold Xerxes and they sold Calafiore. It's like here are your two best players. See you later. Figure it out. I like
Yeah,
Castro. I think Castro's one of those like pain in the ass players. Kind of douchey, high effort, good player. Bukima, is that the guy's name? He's doing a good job with them. So they're filling the gaps admirably. And Orsolini, man, past couple games, he's been playing pretty damn well. So I'm kind of glad about that. But I don't
Orsolini
know.
is good.
Yeah,
Orsolini is good.
yeah, he's a
I
good
think
club
that
guy, man. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean they lost like all their good their main good players. So what are you gonna
Yeah. But he one of the things, signs of a coach. I don't think he's a great coach, but a good coach, is that he's avoiding losses. They only have one loss this year. They have 6 draws, so they're avoiding the
well,
losses. Yeah, they're 4-6-1, so they're avoiding losses. And through all the struggles they had with their roster, losing their best players and all that stuff, and managing a heavier load in terms of games, they're doing a pretty good. I think he's doing a pretty good
mm,
job. But that's a team that as soon as they get kicked out of Champions League, things might open up for them a little bit. So I don't think they're so bad.
no,
They're
I
coming up.
mean when you kind of put it that way, it's like actually they're not doing that bad, really.
No, they're
Hmm.
not. Inter. I think we said it earlier, and I think that kind of sums them up quickly. I think in my opinion, they still the best team in Serie A. I think they have the best roster in Serie A, but I think they've been distracted a little bit by some of their focuses on Europe, more so than Serie A this year. Which I don't know why they would do that, but it's still early.
I mean,
But
I get it. Like, yes, they have a team deep enough to compete in both, but they just won a
yeah,
massive Scudetto last year. 20th Scudetto, so now they got the second star before Milan did at their home.
yep,
Again, I mean, again at San Siro rather. I know they share it, of course. It was a massive win.
yeah,
So that was huge because both Milan and them were. It was talked about nonstop, like which team's gonna get there first. Now they did it. It's done. It's dusted. It's settled.
yeah. That really pissed me off too. But the one good thing is Inter does actually have Italian players. They're
Yep.
holdovers from the Conti era, but that's still cool.
It's the first time as a Milan fan that I don't hate Inter, and that's
Yeah.
just really weird for me.
I mean,
You
it's
know.
it's not about jersey color to me. I don't care. I've always hated that team growing up because they're always all foreigners. They're cheating their ass. They got the refs in their freaking pocket. That
Oh
whole
yeah,
Calciopoli thing
lots of
really started. Yeah, a
corruption,
bunch of
lots of
garbage with
corruption.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I still don't like them, but I at
yeah,
least appreciate that the best, at least most of the best players of our national team come from there.
yeah.
So it's like okay, at least they got
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
At some point, if that stops, I'll fully hate them again. Until now, I just dislike them.
Bastoni, Barella, Di Marco, Acerbi, Damian. I mean,
Is really Barella
Frattesi.
and then DiMarco. Those guys
Yeah,
are top notch in their position.
I
Bastoni,
agree.
I like him, but I
I
think he's
think he's
overrated.
super overrated. Yeah, we'll get into that big time with the Italian national team
Yeah.
stuff. But I think that, yeah, where I think we have a different opinion than a lot of people. But I think we're,
Yep. Yeah, we may ruffle some feathers, but
I don't care.
that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
whatever.
It's
Uh,
more fun that way, anyways.
it's always fun, like 5 years from now, when everyone acts like they knew it all along. It's like, yeah, okay, all right. First, there's 3 teams we want to really dig into, and I think the first team that I want to dig into that we'll go a little bit less deep as the other two is Napoli, because I've become a huge Napoli fan ever since. I've always loved Napoli as just a club in there, a very cool club. But when Conti got announced as manager, I mean that for me is, yeah, I got really pumped. I'm like, oh, here we go. One game a week for Conti. He's got a unmotivated roster, but he's got Kvaratskhelia. He's got Labatka. I was
Lukaku.
curious. Well, yeah, I was curious to see who he'd bring in, and I'm like, everyone hates Lukaku for some reason. Like the guy's just a freaking awesome player. Leave him alone. Even nowadays, he's old and he's still the ball's like magnetized to him. He's a great front man. And then the signing of Buongiorno, and I think we both agreed. I think the Calafiore thing was, I think Calafiore is an awesome player. I think he's super talented, but I don't think we ever were under any impression that he was better defensively than Buongiorno.
No,
Like
I think Buongiorno is your best classical defender that Italy
he's
has right now. Whereas Calafiore is more like I like where he plays like a left center back. he can play right center back, but mainly left center back. I like that for him because he can push forward a little
Yeah.
bit. He's great with his feet. He's a great athlete. He's a better athlete than Buongiorno.
Oh, he's
Buongiorno's better
yeah.
at reading the game and being an actual.
Calafiore
So yeah,
is going to be an excellent player. I think Calafiore is a very modern defender where his best attributes are all going forward. I think the only reason he's has an effect in defense is because he's so athletic. But he doesn't. To me,
he's a decent game reader, but he's
he's
not
decent.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not a great defender. He's
he's not
just a great
special in game
athlete.
reading.
Yeah. Buongiorno is, in my opinion, the best Italian defender we have right now. And if
Ready made, yeah, I
he's,
would agree.
because like the only reason I say it over Acerbi is because Acerbi's old. Acerbi's old. He can Acerbi can handle big slow guys. Like we saw him work
Oh yeah, yeah,
Lukaku in that game. You know,
yeah. But you put him next to like a very agile, like quicker guy.
yeah.
At his age right now, it's gonna be hard for him
Whereas
to lock down.
dude, Buongiorno can play. I mean, dude. I mean, he was manhandling Turam, and Turam's a freaking. He's a nightmare. He's big, fast, strong. I mean, Buongiorno did fantastic in that game. It was the first tackle I've seen in a long time, like an actual tackle from an Italian defender. I
Yeah,
was like,
when
oh,
they played Inter, yeah,
oh man,
not Napoli Inter.
he was lights out, incredible in that game, and he's been amazing all season. He's a natural leader. He's got Rahmani playing properly. He's stabilized that back line. He's been the Kim that they needed. He's the biggest thing they added to that team. I think he may be the MVP right now for me for Napoli. Even though because Labaka, he's probably is, but he was injured a couple games. He still did
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I think
Um,
that I wonder what's gonna happen. I wonder if once he's back, if Napoli is actually gonna start to like truly catch form and not take like the random L here
well,
and actually just be consistent.
I think Napoli is going to be a hard team to beat in general. I think the Atalanta thing was an anomaly. I think that you know that's a team that just
Atalanta does that though.
they
They
do.
always do. They'll have like a random like game throughout the season where they just smoke a team who was like on fire out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
this is
They'll
what
just do it.
Gasparini really plays for. He plays for these little minor achievements of like, hey, we finished third place again. I didn't get any trophies, but I beat that team, and they were really good. So that was a great performance for them, and I think it was an anomaly in the Napoli season. But they still have the second best defense in Calcio. They've got Lukaku has been playing well. People were crying about him the last game. Okay, so he goes and plays a great game against Milan, and then the game after that he plays like shit. Okay, fine, whatever. He got bossed by freaking Acerbi.
He was still a great signing. He's
Yeah,
definitely Conte's guy as well. You
yeah.
knew from the start he was going to end up there if they could make it happen financially, and they were able to make it work. So
And Napoli is looking to sign that guy from Parma, Boni. I call him Boni. That French guy, very
is he
much in the
good?
same vein. Yeah, he's very much in the same vein of Lukaku. Strong.
Oh, I know who
strong,
you're talking about. He's young.
fast.
Yeah, he's young. I
Yep,
know who you're talking about.
good
Yep.
target man. This is a great guy for Conti to bring into a team like Napoli
Oh,
right now.
to have some years to actually
Yeah,
develop, be great.
yep.
Great.
Napoli just needs some depth. Like Neres is too stupid to understand what Conte wants to do right now, but he's learning. It's going to take him some time, but Neres is a good player. Ngonge is understanding what Conte wants to do. He's just not that good of a player, but he understands it a little bit better tactically. That's why he's playing a little bit more than Neres. A lot of people are crying about Neres. It's like, dude, Neres doesn't understand tactics at all. He just is out there running around. He's in the wrong spot. The whole time Neres is on the field, Conte's yelling at him because he's never in the right fucking spot. So that's why Politano is playing. Politano is playing like in defense. They're running a 4-3-3, but in defense it's his 5-3-2. And Politano comes all the way back and plays, and people are bitching like, oh, he has no impact. It's like, dude, he's literally the reason they have a major reason they have such a good defense right now is because Politano is understanding tactically what his
Politano
job
is
is.
an underrated player.
Totally
He's
underrated, man.
he's definitely a Conte style guy too. He just works hard,
He's doing
and he's talented enough to chip in with some goals here.
big time. He's doing a shitty job right now. And that's you do think that if you're like a semi skillful winger and at towards the end of your career you want to get put in a spot where you're playing wing back, it's like no, but you know what he wants to do? He wants
No,
to fucking win a Scudetto, and he's like, you know what? I'll do the job you asked me, coach, and he's
yeah,
fucking
because
doing it.
otherwise he's not gonna touch the field. Like
Yeah,
everybody knows, if you don't do the job, Conte will not play you.
100%. And if you think that's wrong, then you don't understand why Conte's such a successful coach. And also, if people are crying about why these other guys aren't playing, it's because they're too stupid to understand the tactics or too lazy. or too big
Yeah,
of bitches.
or they're too
Yeah.
self prideful.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's totally prideful. So if you don't have Politano doing that, then you have to have Kvaratskhelia doing that. Kvaratskhelia, when he gets back, it's a
he
bonus.
still gets back though.
He
Yeah, he
does,
still gets back.
but he doesn't have a tactical responsibility to do so. He does it because he's a gamer and he wants to win. But he's not. Conti doesn't want to bind him by tactics, so he's letting him do that on his own and play. Kvarat's he's going to have a really good season, and I think Lukaku. The closer he plays to Lukaku, the better, because Lukaku gets those knock-ons and that whole play is really strong.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's no surprise. I think Conte's one of the best coaches on the planet, and it's no surprise that he's turning Napoli around instantly. And I think the signings they make in January and this summer will determine the course that this team takes with Conte going forward. If
it's
Conte gets a
possible.
couple of the guys he wants, and Conte doesn't need to spend a gazillion dollars. Like they spent a decent chunk of change certainly this year. I think they spent one of the most in Europe, right up there with Juve. Um, but they had a lot of players replaced and had to refresh the roster, and the players left on loan.
Well, and they
They
got
were
to
hoping
account
to
for
sell.
Osimhen not going
Yeah,
to be there.
Osimhen,
So it's a huge
Zelensky,
loss. Yeah,
both leaving. Those are big losses. Those are two of their best players, arguably their best player, and one of their guys that has been there forever. That I can't believe they let go. That was a shame that he left because Zelensky would have been great. But they got McTominay, who's been absolutely fantastic this
I
year.
was just gonna say that that's actually been one of the great kind of finds. I'm not sure people thought he was gonna do that well when he
Oh,
joined
I
Serie A
didn't.
and be
No
like a
way.
good solid player or something like that. But the guy fits like a glove.
He does.
And when you see him play, he just has Conte written all over it. You can see
Exactly.
why he picked him. That is
It's
totally a Conte guy. He's got
100%.
grinta. He just shows up in big games.
Yep.
He's physical. He can shoot from anywhere. He's a gamer.
He's an
Like
absolute
I
gamer.
really have liked that guy a lot.
Yep, big time, big time. He's an excellent addition to Napoli, and it's making Zambo Anguissa, who has had some good games. I mean, Zambo's like the worst center midfielder now.
Yeah,
He's the worst midfielder they have, and that's a guy they need to upgrade because it's a glaring weakness on their team right now, especially in that Inter game. He just didn't know where to go. He just totally lost. He's like, oh, he wasn't winning tackles, couldn't move the ball, was in the wrong position. He was just a mess. With him and Gilmore out there, Gilmore's getting better, but Gilmore was a stopgap
yeah, but
solution.
they're not in my opinion like the top class
No,
people. So yeah, maybe like next year they're placed like one of the CMs
yeah,
and you run like you know Labotka, McTominay, and somebody else. But we'll
yeah,
see. I mean
yeah. They got
that will dictate their long term future. I think he has enough of what he needs right now to win a Scudetto as long as most of the players stay
yeah.
healthy.
And Kavara's
Um,
probably going to be sold next year. Kavara, they wants 8 million. De Laurentiis, he said, "Oh, we're not paying you more than 6. Sign or goodbye." That's really what he said to him. Osimhen's going to be sold. He's on loan right now at Galatasaray, so they got
yeah,
some money
yeah,
coming in next year. Kavara is a great player, but I don't think a winger is nearly as important as other positions. So I think they could actually part with him. It would be a real shame because I think he's probably my favorite winger. But the problem
yeah. I
is
agree.
his unwillingness to play anywhere else is frustrating. And
No, I mean
uh,
he plays like a attacking mid slash second
for
striker for
his
the
for
national
the
team.
national team,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I mean
he's
he'll play there, but he's not gonna. I mean I don't know
yeah.
where else he'd be able to play.
National teams are like vacations for him. I hope that he'd be willing to play in a proper second striker role. I think in my opinion, when you're a young player, you play wing, and then when you grow
I
up and
mean,
you're a
I
big
haven't heard
boy, you
anything
move
about
inside.
Conte wanting that. I haven't heard anything about Conte wanting that and Kvara saying no. You have? I have not heard that.
Oh, his main concern about Conte coming in was that he wasn't going to be able to play his natural position.
I thought his main concern was
He
just like he was probably fearful of like, Conte being like a huge like dick, but
no. He
they probably ended up
specifically
getting along.
referenced his positioning.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Conte met with them and blah blah blah. He's like, "Don't worry, you're so special. You're the best. You're gonna get everything you wanted and more. Whatever he had to do to keep him this his ego fluff and for him to stay there. So, but no, he's I mean, he's playing in his natural position. He looks good. He fits into what the team does. I like the way he plays. He gets back. He fights hard. I
Yeah.
hope they don't get rid of him. But if they do, it's not that big a deal to replace a guy like that more so than another position. I think Napoli, really need another midfielder that's excellent. And Rahmani, well, Muret needs to be upgraded. That guy fucking blew the Inter
I
game.
mean, he's not a remarkable keeper. He's solid. He's good. I don't know if Conte will waste any funds on upgrading.
No, it's hard to. I mean, there's a lot of good keepers though in Italy, and like Caprile, was good when he came in. I don't know if he's a solution, but I think they need to work him in a little bit more and see what he's capable of because he's
Sure.
right there and it doesn't cost many money because he's obviously there. And that's a good way to sell, get rid of Moret and not have to keep and not to make it reinvested in a goalie. But I do think that's a point of pain is their goalkeeping position. I mean, literally cost him the Inter game. I know he had some good saves as well, but those you got to make some saves as a top keeper.
Gotcha.
All right, what do you let's talk about Milan.
What do we have next? All right,
Yeah,
so
you lead the way on Milan.
Milan, objectively decent team, solid team, not a Scudetto winning team in my opinion. Can make top four for sure. That's about where they peak. They've got a couple of really talented guys. I don't, as I already said at the beginning, passion for them for me has really fallen off an absolute cliff. They're not the Milan that I grew to love, and that most people who've been a fan for a long time have. I mean, the modern fans who just started watching the past few years probably love it, and that's great.
Oh, they don't
As
give a
far as
shit,
the
man.
most, yeah, they don't care. I mean, they just want to like root for their team, and when their team does well, it's fine, and
There's like
that's
a
okay.
zombie fandom that I see out of these like newer fans. Not to like age. I'm 40, but like
They're
there's like
old, yeah. Yeah, we're
like
getting
if
old.
you don't like whatever your club does, you're not a fan. It's like that's not at
Yeah,
all
I know.
what
Hey,
that
what a
means.
weird thing. That's totally how I feel about
It's
that. I get in
culty,
debates
man.
all the time.
It's weird and culty. It's like, dude,
It
no.
is.
Like
It
you don't
is.
have to agree with this. These are human beings making these choices. Like the red and black color did not choose these players. Some human being
Exactly.
that
Yeah,
was
they're like, it's
hired.
Milan. You got to support it. Like, no, no, no. I want the owners to get out of Milan ASAP. What I
Mhm.
want to happen is some Saudi, millionaire or billionaire to go buy it, and then bring back guys like Maldini
Maldini. We need
and
Maldini
things like
back.
that to just
Yeah.
run it.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I just want the money behind them and say, hey, you guys who know and love this team, do your thing. That's what I want. And I
Well,
think that most real fans actually want that stuff. And I guess I won't use the term real fan because you can be like a rah rah fan. That's fine too. I mean,
yeah.
every team's got them, but that's not the way that I appreciate the team. So
No, yeah, yeah. We're
as far as go ahead.
no. Go ahead. I was gonna add. I was saying that's great that you have your zombie fan base. That's cool. Great,
Yeah,
wonderful.
of the team
But you
style.
also got to have people that hold the team accountable, or they're just going to do what our both of our teams are doing right now, and just going absolutely ballistic, destroying the culture and the soul of the team, and just trotting out, uh, you know, NPC mercenaries one after the every season in the same
Yeah,
damn formation because that's where you can find people. Guess what? You can always find some tricky winger. You can always find some guy who's kind of a striker. You can always find a couple defenders that that are fast. You can always find some guys who can play a defensive mid spot and just kind of stand there. You can always find these generic positions and these players, and you can just shuffle them off and play Moneyball and cycle them around. I call them Moneyball Milan now. It's like, hey, this
I mean,
guy's
yeah, but
we're
yeah,
making a
because
profit
of their
here.
history, of
Sell him.
course. Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna make a profit here on this guy. Sell him. It's like you guys had what was that? You had a midfield of Kessier, Tonali,
Essietala and
and
Benacer.
Benacer.
It's a remarkable
You
midfield,
fucking
very
kidding
very
me?
complimentary, world class,
Yeah,
right? And now we have one top class guy in that midfield, in
it,
my opinion. That's it.
it's a joke.
Which is Reinders. I think
Yeah,
Reinders is a really
Reinders
good
is an
player.
awesome player. Reinders and Pulisic are very good players, man.
Excellent.
You know,
Yeah. No, I mean, as far as the new people signings, those are the only two that I'm like, man, those players are excellent. That was a great job.
yep,
Sure. Everybody else, dime a dozen or bad.
I agree.
In my opinion. Um.
Leao's good. Leao, I like Leao.
Oh no, but Leao was a part of the last.
He was part. He
Leao
was
was
there.
brought in with like Maldini and
Yeah,
guys like that. So yeah, Maldini brought in like still the top world class guys that
yeah,
Milan has, right?
yeah.
They've
Teo and
and
Leao. Yeah,
yeah, Teo, Mike Maignan, Leao, right? Those guys. However, I wasn't like a lot of people think it's like a Maldini versus the world thing at Milan. I gave Maldini a lot of flack when he was the main guy at Milan because he wasn't bringing in a lot of Italian guys. He brought in Tonali and he really made that operation work. Now I don't know if that's all him or if that's part ownership too because the growth decree was heavy there,
yeah. Well, it's
and
back.
around
So
Serie A, and so it's hard to really put the blame. But either way, current Milan will do fine. They'll do well. They are not going to win the league, but they'll do okay. I just there's what do they really need? They really need a D mid. They brought in Fofana. In my opinion, he's not like a true. Yes, he's a D mid, but he's not that type of D mid that they need. They need either a true controlled like Regista type of player, or they need a ball winning D mid. So they should go after Ricci, who actually can control the play a little bit and sit back, or they should go after just like a ball winner.
I've
on
heard the
and
link with Ricci. I think that's would be an excellent signing for them and totally
Reach
out
would be
of
great.
their comfort zone. I think that they
Yep,
won't sign Ricci because he's expensive and he's
and he's
Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't do that.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is also a club that's benching Calabria for Royale.
Yeah, and I mean Calabria, in my opinion, is not a fantastic right back,
He's
right?
better than Royale.
He's better
Royale
than Ram
sucks.
in my opinion, and at least he's like been there for a bit, so he kind of gets it. We want a Scudetto with him, so he can't be that awful. But like, why would you even buy Royale if you're gonna replace Calabria? Go and get a good right back,
Right.
or go and get somebody who does something different. Royale is slow. Calabria is slow. Like, if you're gonna switch it up, get some bomber. Like,
Right.
go. I thought they were gonna go get like a Bellanova, which they already owned when they gave up on that guy, or get somebody like who can actually bomb down the wing.
Oh,
It's
it's
just I don't understand that signing at all, but I think most people don't. Very
no.
strange stuff happening at Milan. It is all management. So I would love to see them leave at some point, but I just
Yeah,
think that they're here for a long
I
time,
would love to
unfortunately.
see Maldini pack in with whatchamacall, some Saudi ownership and take the team back. I think that'd be
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's just I just think that
It's a
being
little
the
romantic, but
businessman,
yeah.
that Cardinale and Redbird are, unless some great deal comes in, they're not leaving it because they're making money whether or not Milan wins or loses.
Oh,
As
that's
long
true.
as Milan qualifies for Champions League, they can just rinse and repeat year after year after year, and that's
That's
the
the whole
problem. They
point.
don't have to
Yes.
win.
That's why they're Moneyball Milan and Juventus is 2 years behind. We're doing the same exact thing you guys have been doing. We're 2 years behind the plan. They're Moneyball teams. They don't give a shit about winning. They just want to keep the fans excited enough to keep showing up, to keep buying jerseys, and to get into new markets by having players from different areas. That's all they care about. And if they win one, great bonus. Otherwise, like you said,
Hmm.
just get in the Champions League, keep the excitement high, have a built-in excuse. Oh, we don't have the money. Bullshit. Bullshit. They've been. I was listening to a cast the other day. They're like, "Oh, well, Juventus doesn't have the money. These big clubs, like we spent like the third most money in planet Earth. I think it was at very least top 10 of all clubs
Yeah.
spent. We don't have the money. Shut up. They got the money. They just that's an
Yeah, and
excuse.
they were like offloading cut price deals like
Yeah.
Chiesa for like 10 or 12 mil, Rovella for
Are we
18
getting
over
into
two
this
years,
now?
I believe. Like I mean, it's all. Let's be honest, it's part of the same. Like Milan and Juve
It's
are
the same.
kind of very similar. Like
Yeah.
the difference is Juve have a very good coach who I actually believe in,
Yeah.
and Milan does not. So that's really the main
I
difference.
totally agree with that. Moda is doing an excellent job with extremely poorly built team.
Very new team too. A lot of. I mean, like
Uh,
none of these guys have won anything, have they?
no, that's my whole problem. So, are we doing the Juventus thing now?
We're doing both. I mean, I
Okay.
guess I'll comment here
Yeah,
and there, but Milan, I don't
there's
have
a
much
lot of
else to say
similarities.
besides,
Yeah,
yeah, you need a D mid, you need a right back, you probably need a center back, which Milan was
good.
looking at Buongiorno. That's who they should have gotten. Instead, they went on like a cut price deal for Pavlovic, who's
Mhm.
very gumpy in my opinion. That's just my main stance. And I actually like them picking up Morata. He's a fighter, he's a
I
captain,
like
and
Murata.
he's
Yeah.
somebody who's a leader.
Mhm.
But like, they are gonna have to actually spend on some top quality players here and there. Like you can't expect the core that's still good to want to stay there if you're not reinforcing it with top guys. Like Hernandez is probably gonna leave. He doesn't want to spend the best years of his life
Oh, I
at a
would
club
leave
who's just keeping average.
if I
Like
if I'm
you
a
need to
top
improve
player.
next.
I'm not coming to one of our clubs. I'm not coming to Juventus or Milan. They don't show any desire to build a Champions League winning team. And if they win a Serie A, it's going to be completely accidental. Okay,
Yeah,
we
any
have
team can catch fire, right? But I mean, like, are you actually trying to build a dynasty? In my
no,
opinion,
they're
Milan is
not.
not.
No, it's not, neither is Juventus. Juventus doesn't have a single intention to build a dynasty like we had the intention for in the past. The past management of Vignelli got criticized because he would spend too much money on players and this or that. Yeah, but you know what? He was trying to chase Scudettos, and he was incredibly successful with chasing Scudettos. We won plenty of them with him at the helm. Bringing a guy like Vlahovic for an exorbitant, very excessive salary. He was at the time the best striker in Serie A. Everyone wanted him all over the place, and we got him. We wanted to keep him in Serie A. We thought he was a great player. It turns out he's incredibly inconsistent, can't put the frickin' ball in the net, and is a head case. It's unfortunate because I really like him as a player. I think that whatever happened to his brain, it's probably our fault somewhere down the line with the inconsistency we had with the whole Giuntoli and screwing Allegri over saga and Elkin the Elkin hostile takeover. Screwing his cousin out of the business. But he's got to go, and people criticize that. It's like, no, that's the cost of building a dynasty. Like in other teams that are pushing for Champions League finals, they're spending that kind of money on players that you don't have to have. So apparently, and that was probably too much money, but apparently it's worse to spend $60 million on one player than $30 million on four players. Depends on who that one player is, correct?
Yeah, this is a very common phenomenon that you'll see, and they say if you've like, and it happened at Milan, right? Because when CDK was bought, and that was like what they used as the nail in the coffin for Maldini, right? It turns out they gave the guy 1 year,
Yeah,
and the second he left, he did great. And they paid like what 30, somewhere around 30 million, maybe a little more, maybe I'm not sure, but it was right around 30 mil, and that's a lot of money for a player, but it's not crazy, right? In
yeah.
this day and age, weirdly enough, it's not crazy, and so because it was on mainly on one player, which was most of that season's transfer budget, because he didn't get much, that he didn't work out was like a massive failure. Everything was going up in smoke. But if you buy a bunch of players, each for 20 and this, which is pretty close.
That's
20 and 30 is
better.
not that
That's
far off, right?
exciting. That's new
You buy six
players.
players for 20 and, two of them work out. So, well, like, really?
Yeah,
It's just, it's weird how that works. So it's exactly what you're talking about with, like, with Vlahovic. If you
it's
guys would have paid, 40, would people be commenting on it that much? Probably
Oh
not.
no, we could have bought two players for the price of Vlahovic, and they're neither of them would have been had the potential of Vlahovic. They've been like Miliks. We could have two Miliks on the team, players in like that category, and people would
Yeah.
have been more excited because that's different jerseys they can buy, different players they can hype up on YouTube and X
And everybody's
and social
obsessed with
media.
like value. Like, cause
Yeah,
let's be real. It's fun to build a team. It's fun to go through like, all right, if I spend this much and sell this guy and buy, like, because we all like playing the games like FIFA and stuff, and that's great.
yeah,
But really, I don't really care what my team spends, right? As long as they
no,
don't go totally like um,
they're
end over
fine.
backwards and bankrupt and they're still in Serie A.
Just
I
win.
don't really care. They don't give me any money. I don't get any financial benefit from that. It's just the owners,
Does
right?
anyone give a
Just
shit
I
that
just want to see
Inter's
them do
broke
well.
right now? That Inter's in debt up their ass?
No,
No, they'll get
nobody
out of
gives a
it.
crap.
They'll be fine. They'll get out of it. And
Exactly.
no one will give a shit. And they'll keep their players, and they'll be totally fucking fine.
Yeah, that does not get me off as a fan,
No.
right? So like, and to some people they do, and that's fine. But
Yeah.
for me, it doesn't do it for me.
Well, I'll tell you what. We spent $175 million last year. We picked up a bunch of average players who haven't won a damn thing. We also sold a guy in Chiesa because he's too injury prone for $15 million. Chiesa, the gem
Yeah.
of Italy. He had, and it was, oh, it's such a bad season. Okay, so he had an incredible season where he was amazing at the Euros, right? Injured the
Yep.
entire next
Had his
season with a
big
very
injury.
serious injury. Comes back and is put in a new start, a new position with a team that has zero investment in it because they're trying to screw Allegri. I'm not a huge fan of Allegri, but he was totally screwed and total lack of appreciation. Once again, Elkin and
Big time.
Giuntoli being petty bitches, and this is just like their little emotions and their petty games overrode what was best for Juventus last year. Zero investment last year. Our big signing was Weah for like 5 million. Okay, that's all. So now you got Chiesa
It's
starting.
happened with.
Yeah, we bought
Yeah.
Weah. We,
Which I like Weah, but yeah, I know
I
there
like
was no
Weah.
like
No,
money
Weah's a
spent.
good
Yeah.
player, but that was all we bought. So our defense is we have Danilo, Rugani, Bremer, Gatti, and Alexandro. That's our defense. Okay. Like out of all of those, two of them are good defenders. Or one of them's a good defender, one of them's okay. The rest are garbage. I never like Alexandro and Danilo are jokes. No investment in the defense. Our midfield is Locatelli, Rabiot, and McKennie or Moretti. None of those players are creative at all. And we're wondering why we're not getting more goals and being able to move the ball forward. Everyone's bitching at Allegri. Allegri's had teams that play. He's had teams that don't. And 3-5-2. He doesn't. This is one of the first times he's run a 3-5-2. He's took a 3-5-2 team and turned it immediately into a 4-3-1-2 team. That was an awesome team, by the way. You know, he's playing the formation that was best for the team at the time. And people are like, why didn't we get more goals? Well, Chiesa got 9 goals coming off a major injury, playing out of position on a team with zero creativity and build-up. It was literally bang the ball forward, hope something happens. That was our whole strategy. So it wasn't a bad season. And then he had a really good game at the end of the year when we had Montero come in. They played 3-4-3. Played phenomenally. He was looking good at the time for the national team. And then we had a horrible fucking Euro Cup where everyone played like ass. And then just ship him out. Let's ship out an injury prone, you know, guy for 15 million. That's probably the most talented player in Italy. And let's bring in a guy like Nico Gonzalez for double the price. Let's bring him in for 30 to 40 million, who's also injury prone and plays on the same side that we already have cover on. So we spend more than double on a player who's exactly the same, right? But less talented, just as inconsistent and just as injury prone. And he plays on a side of the field where we already have cover for. And then we bring in Conceição, same side of the field we already have cover for. And we're going, wait, we only have a 19-year-old kid on our left? We literally start the season with Yildiz as our only left midfielder. Coop Miners, who's very overrated, but he's a good player, as our only attacking mid. We have no backup for him. And then we have 3 right midfielders with Weah, Gonzalez, and Conceição. And then we buy all these center midfielders and offloaded a bunch. Like we brought in Douglas Luiz is a joke. Brought for 40, 50 million, something crazy like that. Turan was a good buy at
Yeah,
20. That's the kind of guy you buy. Like, what are we doing?
yeah. Taram is a good transfer. That's a guy that because he got a ton of talent, you're supposed to give that guy some time, right? You got to give
Yeah,
him a year or two and see how it pans out, right?
he's the right guy at
And
the
he's
right
young.
price. That's
That's
a
a
good buy.
totally fine signing. Yeah, Douglas
Yeah,
Luiz, no. Gonzalez, I mean, he's not. I don't think he's like 21. He's 26, and I just looked up his injury history. It's massive.
yeah, he's
It's
injured.
massive. Over the past several years, it's he's got a
It's worse
ton
than
of injuries every
Chiesa's.
year.
Chiesa had a
It
very
actually is.
serious injury. He was out for an entire year. I mean, it was a real injury. Yeah, like Gonzalez sits out constantly, all the time, and we paid all this money for him.
Yeah,
So
and I
like,
mean, I like him, but
yeah,
he's
me
injury
too.
prone.
I like Gonzalez too, but I would never have sold Chiesa and think we're getting something different with Gonzalez.
Yeah,
And like
it's some
Conceição's
strange
been
decisions there.
really good, but like let's be honest, guys, he's going to end up costing us 40 million because we spent money to get him here on the loan, and then we're going to have to buy him out for 32. You know, so we're spending $40 million on a tricky winger. We already had
Hmm.
one. He's better. You know, it's first of all, it's not that hard to find tricky wingers. That's like the most common position and easiest to find players. But we already had a guy, and he was one of our best. We have
Yeah.
Yildiz. We have Weah. We had 3 of them already. We had Sule. We had it
I mean,
covered.
all that being said,
Yeah.
Juve does have some hope. They've got some good pieces. They've got a good coach who I do think is actually building at
What do
least
we got?
decently.
So I like
They've got
Moda.
Cambiaso,
I
they've
like
got
Cambiaso.
Bremer, they've got Gatti,
I don't like Gotti. Gotti's
they
good,
got
but
Di Gregorio, but he's a solid player
Di
who
Gregorio's
can do a
overrated.
role. They
Yeah,
do need to
Perrine's better.
upgrade. They do
Yeah.
need to upgrade Gatti, but he'll be a solid guy for
I'm
years
going to
to
be
come.
careful what I wish for with that because if they upgrade Gotti, it's going to be some average form player that they're going to spend like 50 million on when they could have got Calafiore for fucking
You never know.
40. Yeah.
They might go and get like Kamutsa or something. You never know.
They'll never get Camuzzo or Scalvini. He's not exciting and he's Italian. They're gonna buy a Douglas Luiz kind of player.
Juve might.
No,
Milan
no.
these days wouldn't, but Juve might.
All we're looking for no, dog. Jude Lee is anti-Italian. Trust me, dude. He sold a ton of good players. He sold off our entire Primavera to bring in a bunch of foreign mercenaries. Like the amount of money we spent on these players, like Coop Miners is a good player. Okay, but Coop Miners is not an attacking midfielder. Coop Miners is a center midfielder. Coop Miners is a link-up guy. He's not a guy that's going to take over game, control the game. He's not creative. Coop Miners is a link-up guy. He's excellent. He can tackle, he can pass, he can shoot, but the whole team needs to be flowing around him. And he's put in a position where he's like, okay, we got Locatelli and Turan behind you. Neither of those guys are creative. The worst part about our team is that we can't attack. Moda, when we lost Bremer, started thinking, well, maybe we should attack more to compensate for our lack of defense. Whoop, that didn't work out. We started leaking goals like crazy. He sorts it
Yeah,
all out,
it's actually a
calms
bad
it all
thing.
down.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was a
Yep.
nightmare. I mean, dude,
But he does respond to what's happening. That's
he
the thing I like
does.
about Mozart. He's
Yeah,
figuring this thing out, and you can see you can see the thought process behind everything. Like he's I
100%.
think he's on the right path. I
He
really like
knows what he's got to do to get. He would rather draw than lose, which I would be
for
the
sure.
same way. And he understands that in order for a team to have character and have and build and have an identity, they need to be strong at the back first.
Yeah.
So he tried it to see, And he's like, nope, let's lock it down. And he's once again, he's really screwed by Giuntoli. That's why I put Giuntoli's picture up on the background. Giuntoli has had a really bad start to Juventus, and I know people don't agree because he brought in a lot of interesting, fun names, but they're not doing that great. Trust me. We were in a better spot last year with $0 spent, but we started the season with two center backs again, Bremer and Gatti. Kalulu's a right back. Danilo's, I don't know what
I
Danilo is.
think Kalu's best position. I know he's never actually been played there, but he just makes the most sense
And a
as a
three-man
right
back
center
line.
back.
Yeah, yeah, and
He'd
a
be
three-man
awesome
back
as
line.
either
Yeah,
right or
I
left
agree.
center back. Yeah,
I agree. He doesn't know how to actually defend, but he's fast.
he
He's
does it in
talented.
in patches, right? But it's like, and that's what you do with like a right or left center back. The problem is he's playing it in a two-man back line, and like he'll have his good games, but you saw the second that Bremer went down,
Yeah,
well, Kalu doesn't look so good.
we started. Yeah, exactly. We started leaking goals like crazy, and but the good news is Moto knows how to tidy that up,
He
and
does, and he did
yeah.
it pretty quickly.
Yeah, he did it really quickly. So no, it's been messy. I don't like what we're doing. I see the future. I know what we're
You
trying
got
to
that young
achieve.
guy right back who's pretty solid so far.
Savona's been excellent, man.
Savona.
Yep,
Savona's been good.
yep,
Cambiaso is like my favorite wing back. I mean, like I think
yeah.
that
He's
the
awesome.
national team is in a great position with both DeMarco and Cambiaso. That's a great
Yeah.
guy. I wanted at Milan when they were linked with him years ago,
Hmm.
and of course passed him up. But that's a great player right there. So I mean, they have some good pieces, but they need a couple actual like real signings. They got
Yeah.
Yildiz, who I think that guy's amazing. I
The
think if
Yildiz is
they just
amazing.
stick with him, he's
But
going to become a top talent.
Yildiz was our Primavera guy. He's homegrown.
Right?
Like
Yeah,
Giuntoli
it's
didn't
awesome.
discover him or find him.
No,
It's
people like to say he discovered, like Kvaratskhelia. He didn't. Everybody knew about
yeah,
Kvaratskhelia.
he didn't
As I
discover
was
him.
saying, as a Milan fan, Kaka Kaladze told Milan about him
Yeah.
years ago, right? And so Kvaratskhelia was known. It wasn't like Junsley discovered him.
Right.
Now Kim, I don't know. Maybe he did discover Kim. Great call on that one.
Yeah,
But
but running a club like
one
Napoli,
guy, I mean, come on.
yeah, I mean he did the same shit at Napoli. He'd just bring in like 12 players and two of them would pan out and be like, "Oh, he's a genius. He discovered him." He's bought like
Yeah,
12 freaking players, man. They just have a roster
I'm
too.
with you. I think he's overrated.
Yeah. Oh, Giuntoli, I think is just actually bad. I don't like what he's doing at all. And it's really it's just Elkin. I think he's on a mission to like I want our team to be a Moneyball team. I want us to be profitable. I want us to finish in the Champions League so we make the money. And if we win, great. If we don't, we don't. But you know, anytime a player is going to start demanding too high of wages, they're going to be gone. And the problem is
I
when you
mean,
get players at
I
world
don't know though.
class. Why? You don't
Because
think so?
they didn't they well,
Look what
I
they did with
agree with a lot of
Chiesa.
that.
Why would they get rid of
I agree with
Chiesa?
a lot of that, but I don't agree with the Moneyball aspect because they're
Yeah,
not making good selling. They're not making good signings for profit. Like think about it. They spent a ton of money that they're not going to get back. They made terrible sales. So Moneyball is
yeah.
all
They
about like
bought high and
doing
sold
the
low.
opposite. Right. So I don't think they're a Moneyball
Oh, I
team.
just think they're bad at it. No, no, no. The formation we're playing and the players we brought in are all to just sell jerseys and get people excited. It's such a poorly constructed team. It's a
I mean,
horribly constructed team. Like,
I agree with that. It's poorly constructed, but I don't agree with that they're like a Moneyball team.
oh, I
I
think
think
so.
that they're trying to modernize their style of play and stuff like that.
They got rid of their high
Um,
salary players or players that
yeah.
were demanding a high salary, and they're bringing in guys that are wanting a lower salary. And they're bringing, the most importantly, they're getting rid of as many people from the old era as possible to
Now
get
that I
in the
agree
new
with.
era. And that's what they
That is the
want.
thing I agree with the
He
most, is that
wants to
they're
rub it into
trying
his
to
cousin's
create their
face.
own culture.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is exactly what's happening at Milan. That's exactly what we both disagree with,
Hmm.
and why we're like kind of watching our
Right.
teams, but we're not really invested as much in them as we used to be.
I'm not.
So
I know I like Mota, but I'm not. I don't like.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like Mota, I like Cambiaso. There's a couple people on Juve that I like a lot,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I don't know. Is it, did we kind of cover most there or Inter? No, Inter already summed up,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I think
we
we're
already
good.
summed up Inter. I think that's good. I think we wrap it up, and I think we could probably do deep dives on any team right now this year. And
Oh
there's
yeah,
some interesting games
there's a
coming
lot
up
of
this
stuff going
weekend.
on.
Um, what's coming up this weekend? So we got Juve Milan, okay, coming up this weekend.
Oh yeah, we do.
Napoli
All right,
Roma trap
what
game.
do you think is going to happen there?
I
Juve or
think.
Milan? Who's going to win?
Oh, I think. Well, so Vlahovic is out.
Okay,
So I think
so
Milan.
Way is going to play up top.
Yeah, I actually like that idea. But I think Milan's going to win 2-0. I think that
Well, 2-0.
two
I think it's
zero.
gonna be a tie. 2-2 tie.
Oh, no way. We can't score goals.
I don't know.
We can't score goals, and if Milan are on their game,
Juve can score goals. What's their last few game
dude,
results?
we don't score goals, man.
I think that the past several have been
The
different than the
only
first.
way we score goals is if we sacrifice our defense.
Right, which is why I think it's gonna be 2-2. I mean, I think the past several games, Juve has put
I
multiple
think
goals past people. I think that
Leao,
early on they didn't, but they had
nah,
2-0 versus Torino, 1-1
that's Torino.
Lille, 2-0 Udinese, 2-2 Parma, 4-4 Inter, and then before that was like
Yeah,
one goal,
exactly.
3 goals, 0, 3. I mean, that's not bad.
If
That's really not
so,
bad. What's their goals for?
Leao's playing well. Reinders is playing well. Pulisic is playing amazingly. I'm more scared about this than I was against Inter.
I do think that right now Milan is catching a stronger vein of form because
Yeah.
of Leao. Because Pulisic and Reinders have always been pretty consistent, pretty solid.
Mhm.
Um, Pulisic especially in big games, but Leao is finally catching form over the past few weeks, and that is a game changer.
Leao is going to be matched up against either Savona. Oh, no, it's going to be Savona because Cabal is injured. So yeah, he's going to get matched up against Savona. I think Leao's going to have a very good day. I like
Yeah,
Savona.
that's a lot for a kid, and
That's
and he doesn't have like raw pace. Like
no.
Leao is a raw pacer. He's
Oh
got
yeah,
decent skill and a ton of pace. That's hard
and,
to keep up with.
and once he smokes Savona, he's going to run at Gatti, which I like Gatti, but that's not his strength, man. You
You
know,
never know. You never know. Gatti could have a remarkable game. You don't know.
Gatti did
And honestly, you
manhandle
got
him last
Yildiz
year
coming
one game.
at Emerson Royale like that.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah. That
saying that's a good win for Yildiz in my opinion.
I like Conceição and Yildiz against your defense. Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
do. That
I
is
agree.
true. That is true. It's I mean it's really a battle of the midfield. You know,
This is why I'm going 2-2.
Is Locatelli, Koopmeiners, and Thuram, which is going to be our starting midfield, better than Fofana, Reinders, and who's the other dude with the two names? Butt
If they
cheeks.
play Loftus Cheek there,
Butt cheeks.
I'm just not a big fan of Loftus Cheek.
Well, I'm not either. But who else are they going to play?
They could play Musa, and I honestly like Musa.
He had a good game for USA, I think.
He did,
Yeah.
and like honestly, he's a good athlete, right? In my opinion,
Yeah.
Moose is not some amazing player. He's a really good athlete. He's fast. He'll work all game long. What they
Yeah.
really should be doing with the guy is saying, listen, I don't care that you like to go forward and you like to do this and this. You're gonna just not do that. You're gonna sit back at D mid and you're just gonna break stuff up all game long,
Totally
and that's
agree.
your new role. If they
Yep.
controlled him, he could actually become a very good player.
Yep. I totally agree. I totally agree. You guys needed a stronger tactician to come in and coach your team. I
Oh
know
yeah,
I really wanted Conte on
somebody
Juventus and you
good.
wanted Mota, and I think that would have been much
I
better
wanted Mota
choices
at
with our
Milan,
teams.
but my second choice and a very close second was Conte because
Yeah.
Milan needs like a manager who's going to kick these guys' asses
Yeah.
because we got a lot of prima donnas on the team and they need to be shut down,
Well,
right?
yeah,
And they need to be kind of like turned around and see who will rise to the top and who will fall.
I agree. I
But we didn't get that.
no,
But I don't know. I mean, Musa could be a decent shout. I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not a big fan of Loftus Cheek. Really, I don't know.
Butt cheeks is his name. So I think Milan's
Left ass
winning
cheek.
2-0.
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
think it's going to be 2-2?
I think it's gonna be 2-2. If
Okay.
anybody's gonna pull ahead like a 3-2,
Okay.
I don't know. Man. Is it at Milan or at Juventus?
It is at Milan.
Milan could take it like 2-1 or 3-2, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the 2-2.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with 2-2.
There's three games that are important. So the second game is Napoli-Roma. Resurgent Roma with
I'm
Claudio
very excited about
Ranieri.
that game. I
Yeah,
just want to see what happens.
yeah. I think that that's a trap game for Napoli. I think it's 1-1.
It is. I think
So
Napoli's gonna win it 2-1.
I hope
I
so.
think it's not gonna be like a nice like I guess you call it a homecoming for Ranieri. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be close. It's gonna be hard fought. Players are gonna care more, but they're gonna lose.
I want Napoli or Fiorentina to win Serie A this year. So those are my two teams I'm pulling for.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I'm, yeah.
I'm definitely cool with
Napoli or
that.
Roma, and then the last game that I think is important and it's a good matchup is Lazio Bologna.
Yeah,
Bologna is
Lazio has to
surging.
keep the streak alive and Bologna
Lazio's
surging.
hot,
Yeah.
yeah. So, which one of these two trains, when they collide, is going to remain on the track? We will see.
I'm hoping it's Lazio
Me too.
because like they're actually in the fight. Bologna is not going to do anything special this season. It is what it is. Lazio could, so I kind of want to see where this thing goes.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I'm hoping for a Napoli win, hoping for a Lazio win, and Milan Juventus. As I said, they're both kind of like our like the redhead stepchild of the teams
Yeah,
that we used to love.
yeah.
Maybe a tie. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to watch the game.
For sure.
It'll be interesting to see how two teams full of mercenaries react to a very classically. I mean, I was just watching classic games, this week. Early
Yeah.
2000s matches, and it's such these
Yeah, you know what?
players. It's
Actually, let me let
totally
me
different,
let
dude.
me hop in for a sec.
Yeah,
So, something to kind of clarify is like about the like foreign players versus the Italian players. Yes, we're both Italian. We have a penchant for Italian players, just as many people want their own players, right? But I also really enjoy when, like, back a little while ago, when like the English teams had a lot of English players and a lot of British
yeah,
players on it, but the French teams had that. And the like, I just like that better. Yes, there's like a mix of everything, but when there is a strong core, I love it. And I don't care when Milan goes out and buys a Rafael Leao, and when they go out and buy like a guy
Teo.
who's got a lot of potential, or a top class player, or
Yeah,
like a very promising youth. But when you're buying like regular people,
yeah.
like, and you're not looking at your own country for that, like, that's really something wrong.
Anybody
Like
can
when
do
they
the damn
bought
job. Yeah,
Pellegrino from Argentina over Calafiore, and they were both
right.
5 mil. Well, look how those two things turned out, right? Very different.
It's so stupid.
So
But
those are the
it's probably a
signings
good
I have
thing
a
because
problem with.
Calafiori wouldn't have touched the field, and if he had one bad game, he's
Yeah,
been
he had one
benched.
bad game,
Just
he would
like
just be
Fagioli.
chastised. Yeah.
Fagioli was like our best midfielder for up until the Red Bull Leipzig game where he played incredible. Then he had an average game after that. He was just okay, and then he had a objectively bad game after that. Benched. Haven't seen him
Yeah,
since.
there's
He's
definitely a
dead.
thing that we always say against,
Yeah,
like, so like Italians, like, like us, like, I mean, not me and you specifically, but like Italians in general, they are very harsh on their
big time.
own, and
Oh,
which
he's
is weird.
terrible. Yeah,
Whereas like
terrible.
the English do the opposite, and
Right.
I actually love it. They build their players up. That's I
They
mean,
do.
it's awesome. Like, they're like, this guy's always like the next best thing because they're giving them all the
Yep.
confidence in the world. The Italians are like, oh, you had two bad games, you're trash.
Well, we've
It's
listened to
crazy.
a lot. We've really let British media overrun it, and it's our media that's also a problem too. But they have
It's a
let
big
us,
problem.
they have convinced our entire country that we need to entertain them with the way our teams play, even though we're the second most successful team in the world and most successful team in Europe in terms of international play.
Yeah, you just gotta block out the noise.
Yeah, and like they've corrupted so many young fans into thinking that this is how you're supposed to play. Dude, you know how Italy plays? We play great defense. We counterattack. We get a dirty goal and we win. I love it. That's how we play. Sorry, that's what we're good at. We have a
Yeah,
we have a ton of skill, a ton of talent. Guys like Totti, legends like that. But we lock it down first. That's in our nature, and it always comes out and as much as we try to emulate Spain or emulate tiki taka, it always comes out in these performances when the going gets tough. You know,
yeah,
we
they
go
always
right.
kind of like go right back to
We
that. It's just whether or
naturally
not the
just
team
do
is
it.
good enough to do that,
Yeah,
right?
like just teach your kids to play that way like they used to. Creativity in calcio and in football in general is probably just dead.
Really, it's at an all-time low.
It's never coming back. It's too much social media, too many haircuts and
Too much
tattoos.
sports science,
Yeah,
where it's like you need to be this way and do this thing. It's like
yeah.
you can't just be
It's
you.
fundamentally flawed from the youth system, the way they're teaching the kids all the way
Yeah.
up. And it's going to take
There's
generations to
always
fix
somebody
that.
like somebody else now. Whereas like there
Yeah,
were actually unique players. There was, Ronaldo, there was Totti, there was
yeah.
Ronaldinho. There were guys who like you really don't see those guys anymore
No,
today.
no, no.
But
It's
you know
they're
what?
all
There's Rafael is not special. Kvaratskhelia is not special. Like, yes, they're great players, but they're not like in history
no,
special. They don't do
no.
anything unique that other people don't do.
They're not even on the map. But they're some of our favorite players, from now, and that just goes to show how far it's fallen off. I think Patrice Evra had a comment lately where he said everyone's robots. They're all
Yeah,
robots. Every player has to play the ball. The goalie has to play the ball. Like, what are we doing here? What's your
yeah.
position? What's your job? What do you do? What are you good at? You know,
Honestly, I totally agree. And so we could even do like a thing about like just like the state of football and culture in general, where it's at. But I
oh, I think
mean,
we piss everybody off because I think people really,
I don't know. I don't know. I think a lot of people think it. Maybe it's just the older guys, but I think it's there. Enough
yeah,
former pros have said this and respected
yeah.
people, so you never know. But I mean,
Well, they're all
mainly
our
the point
age.
when yeah, I know, right? Well, before I kind of spiraled and whatnot, I was
Yeah, yeah.
basically
It's gonna
say the
spiral.
reason why we are our Primo Calcio was because I want to see Serie A and Calcio do well, and I like seeing the Italian teams doing better again in Europe and actually having the name for themselves because they used to be the cream of the crop and they've fallen off entirely, and a lot of that had to do with growth decree.
It did.
But I like to see that, and so no matter what, even though I've been a Milan fan for almost 20 years now, I think it's about 19 years. I'd rather, with how Milan is now, they don't feel like the team that I grew up watching and loving. I'd rather see Serie A do well, and the teams like Fiorentina, teams like Napoli, who still have like those like good cores, do well. That's more
Yeah,
important, and it's not about like I don't want to see foreigners on the teams. I want to see them, but I want to see good
yeah,
ones, talented kids, top-notch players. I don't just want to see, hey, this is a regular player who's going to fill our squad. Let's go foreign. You don't do that. You shouldn't do that.
right.
That's my problem. I don't like doing that.
And it's so funny because when Serie A was at its peak, when it was at its best, and it was up until recently. I mean, it was always amazing up until the early what was it, the early 2010s. I mean, all our great teams were stacked with Italians. So once we got away from that, we got worse. We
Well,
got
and the
a
national
lot.
team suffered too. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, the
it's so
national team's
funny
been a
seeing the
joke.
national team with the second the growth degree drops. All of a sudden, there's a lot of hope for the national team again. Now
Yep.
it's coming back, but
Yep.
that's definitely something we're
Yep.
going to go into at our next cast. We'll do a national
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
we're yeah.
So
I think just why is
yeah,
Tonali, why is Donnarumma, why are Calafiore, and even guys like Udog, you doggy, Udogi, why are they playing?
Udoje, yeah,
Yeah, why are they playing overseas? Why aren't we bringing
Udoje.
them back? Are they going to be like Marco Verratti was like the biggest tragedy of that whole
Yeah, he's
generation.
like never in Italy.
He's a
He's always been
PSG. No,
PSG his whole life.
how much money did we spend on
It's hard to
players
match
that
that
were
salary for a lot of
garbage?
teams.
Bull crap. Bull crap.
What was the salary at PSG? I
Who
mean, but this will
cares?
be like I will probably wrap it up, but let me
You
see
tell
what
me
the
you'd rather have three buttheads
no, no,
than
no.
one Ferrari
I'm
than one
not saying that,
Verratti?
but I'm saying this is
Yeah,
probably the reason of a
yeah.
lot.
That's how they justify it to the fans because yeah, they don't want to do it because Verratti only sells one jersey. Three players sell three different jerseys. They do more commercials. They do more social media pumps to get their club name out there. Bunch of crap. Yeah. What was Verratti's salary at PSG?
At PSG, I mean, I'm looking at his salary right now
Oh,
at Al Arabi, and it's 30 million a year. Oh
oh
my
well,
god.
now yeah, yeah. They
Oh
don't know
my
what. Yeah,
goodness. Ooh, boy. 12 mil.
that's not bad. That's what Vlahovic is being paid right now.
Initially, he was getting like 8 and 6, and then it was like 12 mil. Is
Yeah,
that what Vlahovic
that's
makes?
eight. Vlahovic is making 12 million. He's been making 12 million. That's how much he gets
Uh,
paid, dude.
yeah,
Kvaratskhelia wants 8. So yeah, we could have absolutely afforded Marco Verratti. It's
bad,
just literally they just hate
bad.
their own. They don't want to bring in their own Italian talent. And he's the best midfielder
Of
of
that
that
time,
era.
of
Yeah.
that time, which was not a great era, but still that time he was.
He's. I would take him on our national team right now over any of our guys. Truly, he was. We need. He tackles better than any of our midfielders. He has better ball possession than any of our midfielders and better passing than any of our
He's not
midfielders.
even that old. What's he, 30?
He's only 31, 32. For an Italian player, that's like he's just beginning. But he chose to join the Saudi retirement
Right, so
home.
he's like written off. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's 32.
yeah.
Yeah,
When you
he's
make
fine.
a
I think for the role.
yeah when you make that career decision, and I know guys like Ronaldo still get to play for the national team, but when you make that career decision, you're basically saying I'm retiring.
I mean, I can't blame him for
I'd take that.
30 mil a season. I mean,
I mean, dude,
what
no,
are you
he
gonna
was
do?
no Italian teams want him his whole career. He's not getting called up from Spalletti. Just take the money. Who cares? It's over now.
Yeah, literally,
Yeah,
he always played in Ligue 1.
yeah. Yeah, it's a
That's
disgrace.
wild.
It's an absolute
Well,
disgrace.
um, I'm good. I don't have any other final
Same.
thoughts. What about you?
No, I'm good. I think we wrapped it up. We'll get into the national team in the next one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, whoever was joining here. We'll kind of start to do some more casts. We'll go national team next. Thank you all for joining. I'm Michael here with Anthony. You guys take
Boom.
care.
Ciao.